Hello, I'm Lisa Salazar, General Manager of the City of Los Angeles Youth Development Department, and welcome to Protest and Promise. It is a pleasure to be here today with you as a host of Protest and Promise, which offers youth an opportunity to engage in important and meaningful conversations on a myriad of issues that impacts their communities and their futures. Today is an exciting day. You will learn about the significance of Pride Month. You will meet and hear from our city's Youth Council members. We also have a special guest here in studio from the Los Angeles LGBT Center. We are excited to sit and learn about their work and ongoing programs. We will also be sharing various resources that are available to youth populations. So let's jump right in. And now I'd like to introduce our guest, Marco Magallon, Jr. He is a youth employment coordinator from the Los Angeles LGBT Center and is part of the Youth Services Program. So Marco, to start off this conversation, can you help us understand or provide some context to Pride Month, to the LGBT community, and a little bit about the center?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for having me today, Lisa. So I think it's important as we celebrate Pride Month to really recall and remember what this month is all about. If you look at the history of the march toward LGBT equality, the modern day advent of it, we can really point to as 1969, where we look at the Stonewall riots. Up until that point in American history, queer people didn't really have the ability to have equal rights in society, whether it was employment, the ability to marry the one they love, or simply just being able to maneuver throughout society, free from fear and discrimination. So really in that moment, you had a group of primarily Black and brown queer people who were protesting at that time police brutality. They were being targeted for their identities, for the fact that they were, mingling with people that they loved, but also that they cared for and that cared for them. And from there, you basically have, the advent of the queer rights movement as we know it today. Throughout the 70s and 80s, whether it was pushing for access to affordable and important medical care throughout the AIDS epidemic, moving into the 90s and 2000s with marching towards equality, making sure that sodomy laws weren't on the books anymore, and then also marriage equality, which came to pass in 2016. And leading us today, which, we still have a lot of things to march towards, especially for our trans and non-binary siblings who unfortunately are being attacked, even here in the States. So although there's work to be done, it's also important to celebrate all the progress that we've made thus far as a community.
Marco, thank you for that context. It's so important for all of us to be aware of our history and understand the milestones and all of the hard work that has gotten us to this point here in history. I also understand you have a video to share that highlights some of the work of the Los Angeles LGBT Center.
Yeah, I wanted to go ahead and share a video with you all that explains a little bit about the work we do at the Los Angeles LGBT Center and how it impacts the greater queer community here in the city of Los Angeles.
We get this incredible and wonderful opportunity to advance, to learn leadership, to volunteer, to make friends, to make connections, to find a sense of community, that chosen family. And that's why you're here. That's why we're all here.
Wow, that was great. Thank you, Marco, for bringing that and sharing that with us. I know that Pride Month has a special place in my heart because it reminds me that there is an entire community that is here to provide support and give me that feeling of belonging. Today we're joined by a number of young people from the Los Angeles LGBT Center, from the City of Los Angeles Youth Council, and also a member of the original Protest and Promise group of young people who really started this whole conversation. So I'm curious to know from you all, young people on the screen and the Zoom boxes there, what does Pride mean to you? What does it mean to you when it is Pride Month?
So quick introduction. My name's Serena Victoria. And Pride Month for me just means the freedom to be me, and also the chance for me to just express how I feel, just being me, other than Pride Month. It's not just once, 1 month every year. It's just an opportunity to raise awareness, basically, and remind people that we have the freedom to express ourselves and be human.
Right on. Thank you for sharing that.
My name is Isaiah, they, them pronouns. And I would say pride for me is the ability for communities to celebrate kind of their resilience to oppression and then annihilation. I mean, pride is when you're able to come together and kind of, as others have said, celebrate that community that has either been targeted or left out, not considered, and come together and see each other and validate each other and be there for each other. Gives you that chance to be prideful of your guys' resilience and that you guys are all survivors and that we've all survived whatever we've gone through and we're still here and we're thriving and living.
Thank you, Isaiah. Ryan, you raised your hand.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ryan. For me, pride means sharing my truth and my history to the world and making that decision to just welcome people into this deep part of myself and being very happy and excited about it.
I think Pride Month means something to everyone, even to folks who are not a part specifically of the LGBT community. I'm wondering if any of our allies that are on the line today could talk about what Pride means to you. What does that mean to you when you hear people say Happy Pride, or you see everything that is happening during the month of June?
I think it's such a great call to action for our entire community to get together and not only support and engage, but listen and learn and understand. I think as allies, that's the biggest, the most important responsibility that we have, is to listen, to learn everything that we can, to take it all in, and to be there to support our community in ways that we have understood now, lacked for years before, but now we can push forward and not only be there and represent, but uplift the voices of others.
Right on. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Hi, folks. Furkan here from the LACD Youth Council representing District 11. I just had a question for our folks from the LGBT Center. The city's done a good job of, providing resources in this space for the LGBT community. What would you like to see the city do more in terms of helping LGBTQ youth?
That's a great question, Furkan. Any responses?
I'll take that one. For me, helping me as a queer youth means helping Black youth. It means helping the homeless community. It means helping mentally ill communities. We live in intersections. Like, for example, I'm Black and queer. So if you want to help me as a queer person, help me as a Black person. If you want to help us as the queer community, help us as humans and help us as a whole entire community. Yeah.
Isaiah?
I would just hop on that also and just say, yeah, it is about policy advocacy work as well. Like you can do all the things you can that you think will help us, but if you're not doing things with intent and you're not doing it while looking at, as Michelle said, those intersections where youth are at, you're going to miss them. And it's falling through. It's those gaps that they keep falling through that then allows this repeated cycle that we're seeing of where we're just seeing increases of homelessness and certain youth feeling left out and not part of the conversation or taken care of. And so I think while it's good to want to help, it's also good to have the right intent and the knowledge behind what your help is doing. And to do that, you have to be in the space. You have to be a part of that community in a sense, like be active. Don't just be an ally, be an active ally. Be aware of what's going on, what's hurting your people, and spread in what's hurting the community you want to be an ally to, and then spread that information so that others can be aware. And yeah, just building a web of kind of support to help to catch anywhere where you might not see something, but someone else might.
If I was sitting out there and in the audience watching this show today, what are some of the things you'd want other LGBT young people to know about the Los Angeles LGBT Center? Why should they go there? Why should they know about it? Peyton?
Can I take this one? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, for one, like everyone here is basically like a family. Um, we always have each other's back no matter what happens. Even if sometimes we don't like each other. And nor in actual families, you don't always like each other. And so, like at the end of the day, if something happens to one of us, something happens to all of us, and we all stand up for each other.
So there's a lot of support there and a sense of community.
The LGBT Center is also the perfect place where you can connect with mentors, whether it be, a therapist, a job, employee manager, or anyone, basically any staff member. You feel safe. That's the most important thing. You not only have the chance to connect with people your age, but you have a chance to connect with people older and who can lead you to just I want to say leadership in the most general term, whether it be your life or finding employment or finding your own place. Yeah, I just think that's the most important key is having mentors in the LGBT Center.
Yeah, I was going to just say one of the, I think all these are great things to touch on, and they're all very true. I mean, it's very much a family, community, a space of mentors too. But I think also some of the things that are here and the programs available are also really important to share about, because there's a lot here that is not anywhere else that you won't find at other youth centers or shelters. I mean, just for instance, the employment office, the education office, and our engagement office, all three are key components to what kind of keep the youth thriving here and keep us in places that are moving forward. The education center specifically is really good about getting youth connected with colleges, finding resources on campus that they can use, not just on universities, but community colleges, as well as trade schools, licensing programs. They help you with your GED, getting that stuff. They help you with a gambit of services and anything it takes to get you on the right path to whatever future you want for yourself. Employment is in the same field as far as they'll do what they can to help you find jobs in position and trainings where you want to go and where you want to take your life. They help you get connected within the community in those aspects as well, so that you're not just out here trying to find it on your own. You're out here being connected to those tables and seats where you'll be able to actually use your voice and show your potential. And then the engagement office is where a lot of advocacy, social work, and youth engagement is really fostered. And it's beautiful because there's where I feel like we see a lot of our community come together, and a lot of what the center stands for thrives in that space. There's a lot of us who, or there's a few of us here who are interns in that space as well. And we get to see kind of the work that gets done. And it's really cool to just get to see all the lives that we touch with this work and how big of an impact it has. The center is really good about building up its youth to feel empowered enough to speak on the issues they see, and also giving them the power back to really have a voice and say, hey, like, this is a problem, we need to fix it. So please do what you can to do that. And we're tired of words, we want actions. And so I think that's just a little snippet of what are some of the great things that the center has that really help to foster an environment of growth for the youth.
Sounds like a one-stop shop. I don't know, Furkan, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on something that Deshaun and Isaiah mentioned about the homelessness crisis and how, we know that this issue disproportionately affects Black, Brown, and LGBTQ folks. What are some other top issues that y'all think affect the LGBT community, and what you think, allies or other LGBT folks can do to help, address those issues?
Well, I feel as though I personally say that the thing that leads to homelessness is loneliness. And I feel like, especially for queer youth, that's such a huge thing, just being ostracized. It takes a village to raise a child. However, we don't choose those villages, or sometimes those villages just aren't available, which is why community centers like this are important. But just being there for other youth, just making space in yourself and unlearning the homophobia that we're kind of all born with because of the society that we're born into, and just taking that into the world and actively speaking for queer youth, whether it's in mental health or homelessness or in Black rights or in Latinx rights, just making sure that you're looking at LGBT youth as a holistic person, like at their intersections and as full individual human beings who are going to be different and who will have different needs for every person.
That's a great point you raised there, Detrol. And, you know, he raises a good point about just youth feeling lonely, right? And not being in places that are accepting and where you're able to find that support. I believe even before the show, initially a young person who was supposed to join us today couldn't because they were, you know, afraid that their father was going to find out about them being on the show. So I think, you know, the reality of this does hit home, but that's why it's so important to have a place like the center where people can get connected, feel engaged, and feel supported and affirmed in who they are.
Let's talk about some of your aspirations. You're there at the center, you have access to all of these like great resources that are helping you with like education, employment, mental health, and so on. Maybe if you could share a little bit about what your goals are. Where are you trying to get to? What do you aspire to do next with your life? We really want folks in the audience to understand who you are and you know where you're going. We'll just go around the block there. So we'll start with Serena, and then we'll go to Peyton, and we'll go to Isaiah, and then Detrell. Go ahead.
Okay. I think for me, my aspiration, I think my number one aspiration would be to bring more of the opportunity of the LGBT Center, specifically more aware to public schools. I just remember, you know, growing up in either grade school, secondary, and high school, there were never really there was just not enough awareness of resources youth can go to if anything ever happened at home. Sure, they would let youth know, hey, if you need help in terms of fostering, they had those particular resources, but in terms of just identity-wise and what goes on in schools, especially bullying, I really hope to aspire to bring that up to just schools, especially in LA County. So other than that, I really just want to strive to build a better connection with my community, basically.
Right on. That's awesome. Thank you, Serena. Peyton?
I think my inspirations are kind of close to like the fact that I am a trans woman, and the trans community faces a lot more discrimination than a lot of the other parts of the community. And like my inspirations are to like get out there and like be an activist for the trans community, specifically for the trans female community, and do what I can. Like I want to become a lawyer for human rights, so that I can eventually do activism and with the law.
Isaiah?
Yeah, so I have a lot of goals. So my goal currently is I'm going to school for engineering and Korean language and culture. I hope to eventually go to school in South Korea and get my bachelor's in engineering there. I have two kind of separate sides of my goals. So my academic and career goals are to then get into natural disaster prevention technology and provide that to POC communities as well as communities that have a harder time coming back from natural disaster incidents like forest fires, earthquakes, hurricanes, floods, stuff like that. And then I also long-term hope to be a part of like space travel technology, and that I have big Star Trek, Star Wars dreams. So, but I also have a humanitarian effort in mind that I want to be able to bring, kind of like what my peers have said, this space to more communities. I know I'm originally from Nebraska. I'm not from California at all. So it was a big shock and change to see so much community and so much people that either looked like me or had similar beliefs like me, to go from an environment where I could maybe find one office on a campus where I could see the LGBTQ Center, or or resources for LGBTQ to now an entire building and this community that I've never got to experience before. And so I want to bring that to more spaces, and also just provide the ability for that access potential and for everybody's potential to really blossom and give them that ability.
That's amazing. Anybody else want to share this aspirations? I really want to use this space to share with Los Angeles just how amazing our young people are, and for them to understand their aspirations and why they're involved in conversations like this. So anybody else care to share?
Yeah, I would first like to preface by saying that existence is good enough for everyone. So even for like queer youth, if your goals are no goals, that is perfectly fine. You are valued because you're a human. But for me personally, my aspirations are to, first, I'm an artist, so I want to just continue creating music and being a creative. And I also do advocacy work. I'm a homeless youth advocate. And right now we're working on a project called Pillows for All. We actually created our first pillow with the help of the LGBT Center, where we're combating against the defensive architecture of bus benches in Los Angeles and creating huge pillows for unsheltered people outside to have as a form of comfort, but also protest and just combating against the system trying to oppress us. So yeah.
Ryan, would you like to jump in here and share a little bit about your aspirations?
Definitely. So I'm also trans and trans man, and there hasn't been a lot of visibility in like movies and TV shows. And so I want to be able to contribute to that empowerment for other trans men to be able to see themselves on screen.
That's amazing. Well, you're in the right city to do it. I mean, Los Angeles. That's fantastic. Diana or Furkan, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just want to really quickly, I wanted to, ask, I know we're all young here, but if any of you had any, sort of advice for your even younger self that some of our younger viewers at home could kind of take and apply to their lives, would you have any words of advice? Feel free to jump in.
Isaiah.
I would say definitely don't take life seriously right now. Like, it's all just your society and everybody around you is probably telling you that you need to have stuff figured out. You need to know where you need to go next. You need to figure it out. I'm talking maybe like the 18, 17-year-olds, 19, 20, 21 even. You're not going to have it figured out. Life is going to keep changing. Each day is a new lesson, and just take from it what you can and grow. And that's the best you can hope for and do. And just always keep your mind open to perspective and to evolving, because that's how you'll get through life a little bit easier, is not being so resistant to things changing or having to go through certain things, because it's going to happen one way or the other. It just depends on how you handle it and how you kind of take it. So just take life light. Just take it light and laugh a lot. Laugh a lot.
Right on. This is a great question, so let's go around the horn on it. I think, Peyton, you had your hand up.
I think I would probably say, like, don't let anyone tell you who you are. That is completely your decision to make. If you feel like you know who you are, then live for your life as the person you think you are. Even if it's not who you are at the moment, even if it's not who you are in the future, it's who you are at the moment. So that's all that matters.
Right on. Serena, advice to your younger self.
I would just say, just keep practicing your kindness. A lot of people, just like my peers just said, they're going to tell you otherwise who you are. They're going to insist who you are. So don't pay them any mind. Just continue to live your life as content and happy as you are, as I said, in the present. And whenever you can, or whenever you're given the opportunity, go ahead and speak with a mentor or someone who's close to you. Especially with technology now, you can reach out and just talk to people, even anonymously, if you just need a pickup, just a something to lift your spirits, and which is something I just lack. So I'd say keep your head up high, especially.
Right on. Ryan?
Yeah, to my younger self, I would definitely firstly say hang in there, because you are going to get everything that you want. And it's going to take a lot of time. And I know that you want all of these changes to happen right now. But right now is also filled with so many moments of joy and liberation if you look hard enough. And to also just keep that compassion for yourself. And if you don't have it right now, it'll come too.
Right on. Detrell?
I would say to my younger self to just be you, like even like I said, we are valued because we exist. We constantly are told that like our value is based on what we output or what we like can contribute to the world, but you're valued because you're human. You were born, so therefore you're okay. And that no matter where I end up, still just as valuable as any other place I would have ended up. So nothing matters, but like it's okay. Yeah.
I want to thank all of our guests for taking part in this discussion today. Pride Month is not only a celebration, but it's also a reminder of all of the struggle of the community, the progress that has been made, and all the work still left to do. For more information and resources, we ask you to please visit the Los Angeles LGBT Center at www.lglbtcenter.org. Marco, do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. Just as you can see, Lisa, our young people are just full of so much passion and zeal for the work that they do. It makes me proud just to see all of them here today talking about their goals, talking about their futures, and seeing the hope that lies there, right? We can live in a society that tells us that we're not enough, but we truly are. And so being able to see the impact that the center has been able to provide in some small way, help them towards their own pathways, to me just gives me a lot of energy for the work I do. And ultimately, while I think we do face a lot of barriers as a community, or even just as a city, right, we have so many pressing issues, I know collectively I think there's hope in us young people to make things better and to make tomorrow a brighter day.
Thank you for joining us today on Protest and Promise. I'm Lisa Salazar, General Manager of the Youth Development Department.